Hi, Dr. Shook here. What I'd like to do is share my story with you guys and talk to you and tell you my experience of how I got to the point I am today where I'm working with people that have thyroid dysfunction and autoimmune thyroid conditions. And it really started with me when I was 13. And I can tell you that at 13 there was a real turning point, and I think it was after I'd gone through several rounds of antibiotics for upper respiratory infections. I developed severe constipation, and it's not something that I'd had really prior to that, but I developed severe constipation that I had. I mean, literally, there were some times that I would not have a bowel movement for 7 days, and it was a terrible experience for me as a teenager, trying to play sports and have a social life and go to school and deal with this terrible digestive problem. And it was, if you've never experienced that, it's not something you ever want to experience. So what I did was, I did what any 13-year-old that is fortunate enough to have a mother does. I talked to my mom about it, and she helped me by giving me laxatives and making me drink lots of this nasty fiber drink that I would mix up. And I think it was some kind of, I don't know, it was some kind of psyllium orange type of fiber, and I would drink it every single day or like 2 times a day. And I think that did help my bowels move more. But those were irritants. Like, for one thing, the laxative was an irritant. Most laxatives are irritant based, and then the fiber, a lot of the soluble fibers that pull water with them, like that we'll see in grains and whatnot, those can actually pull out gut bacteria and take too many good things with them on their way out. So though my bowels were moving and I wasn't constipated, I still noticed that there was inflammation in my bowels, and there were other problems. But what are you to do? You're 13. I knew nothing really. So fast forward about 14 years till I was 27. Things with my gut, I think it improved a little bit because I had learned more about, I had a different diet. I wasn't a teenager anymore. I was trying to be as healthy as I could, and science was coming along as far as our understanding that carbs weren't king. Back when in the 80s and very, very early 90s, there was, this huge carb craze. And I think that's one of the reasons we have high rates of diabetes and lots of autoimmune problems today, is because of some of the bad advice that was given then. But fast forward to when I was 27, I developed psoriasis, and my mother has plaque psoriasis, and I kind of knew the deal. At the time I was going through my doctoral studies, and I decided to go see a dermatologist, though I knew what she was going to tell me, and I was correct. She told me that I could use steroids, I could use light therapy. They had like a laser that they could use on it, or if it got bad enough, I would need to take biologics or immunosuppressants, and that's not acceptable to me. I just asked. I said, well, I know it's autoimmune. My immune system's attacking my skin. Why is that occurring? And she said, we don't know. And for me, that wasn't good enough. So that was about 12 years ago. And that initiated this process of me to just go into full blown research mode. And really, that's what molded me into the practice and my focus today. Which is functional medicine. And about 3 or 4 years ago is when I can't remember if it was 3 or 4, I was feeling tired. I work a lot, I read a lot, I study a lot, I travel a lot, and I'm constantly researching. And I do it because I love to do it, but there's a consequence, right? Everything has to be in balance in your life. And I'm better at doing that now. But then I was kind of burning the candle at both ends, so to speak. And I'm sure that I wasn't sleeping enough, and I was I was doing way too many things that I kind of took some things for granted, that my body could absorb the stress I was giving it. But I was tired and I was fatigued, and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get an expanded blood panel and look at everything. I haven't done that in a while, so I ran a very expanded blood panel. I even got some hormones tested, and it came back that I had antibodies against my thyroid globulin. That's one of the tissues inside the cells of the thyroid that we check for Hashimoto's. But the thing is that my hormone levels were normal, so I'm considered euthyroid, or normal hormone levels, but an autoimmune process. Now, here's the thing. There is research, and we know that autoimmunity against the thyroid, even if you're euthyroid, causes suffering. It causes problems. And the reason for that is because the autoimmune process itself causes inflammation. The inflammation will decrease the cellular response to your thyroid hormone. So the hormones that you have in your body have decreased sensitivity because of the inflammatory process. And I won't get into that too much detail here, but the thing is like that was one of the reasons. Now, my testosterone was really low because I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't exercising properly. I was just really taking a lot of my health for granted that I had kind of built back up since I was 13 and then 27. I went into this super research mode and started discovering leaky gut and things that I could do there, and changed my diet and did all these things to help myself. And I'd gotten healthier to a great degree, and then I really kind of pushed it, and I tried to push the accelerator a little too hard. And I don't know if I had this autoimmune thyroid problem before, but that's when I discovered it. And so I knew that I had expanded autoimmunity. And if you don't know this, if you have one autoimmune condition, you have about a 52% chance of having another one. And the thing is that most people don't know until someone runs testing and diagnoses it. So for most people, they never find out until it's very, very advanced. And so, I know I could have had this for a long time, but the point is, for 12 years, I've been studying functional medicine and this approach to looking at root causes and drivers. And I studied the thyroid, but over the past several years, 3 or 4 years, it's almost the only thing that I've really focused on. I've really immersed myself and tried to research it as much as I can. And I decided, what I'm going to do is I've got to teach this to people. I've got to get this out there. So that's why I create educational videos. I want people to be able to take their health back, to be their own advocates, to be better partners with their doctors, and to give you tools and information so that you can do that for yourself. Now, there are people that need help, and we do work with people like around the country. We do distance consulting via Skype, FaceTime, and phone, and I see people in the office. If people need more one-on-one individualized care, we help people do that, but the goal is to help you help yourself. And that's kind of how I got to where I am today. My own problems, and I think it probably all began back when I was 13, and maybe after those rounds of antibiotics, maybe it was the infection that was associated with the antibiotics, but something triggered that the constipation, and maybe something triggered autoimmunity. Maybe I had an autoimmune thyroid then. No one ever checked that. And maybe I was hypothyroid. I don't know for sure, but one of the things I do know is that seemed to be when my health problems began, and that's really important. So working through this and living this, a lot of people can't relate to this because they don't understand, because you can't see these problems. When you look at someone that's hypothyroid, you don't see an outward injury. So it's really hard to understand what they're going through or how they feel. And I know, because I went through that for years. No one knows that you're constipated and you feel terrible. No one knows that you're fatigued and you have no energy. They can't see it, so they don't understand it. And that's where I really, that's one of the reasons I really want to help people, because I've lived through this. I've not just seen it from the doctor-patient perspective. I've also been through it and experienced a lot of the same things that my patients and distance consulting clients have. So I just want to share that with you guys so you know more about me, where I come from, and have a better idea of who you're learning from and might be working with. So anyway, I appreciate you guys a lot, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this has been helpful to you. Thanks.